order the regular meeting of the Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, January 17th, 2017. It's 1:30. We're at Carrabelle City Hall. We'll say the prayer and then the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Dear God, we ask that you watch over us today and help us to make the correct decisions for our community and our citizens here in Carrabelle. And we just ask that you guide us in the right direction this afternoon. Thank you very much. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have 2 minutes we need to approve, October the 18th, 2016 and November the 15th, 2016. Do we have a motion for those minutes to be approved?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Walden, a second by Mr. Powers. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. And then we'll move forward to staff reports of the CRA Director.
We don't have any ongoing facade grants. Everything's been closed out. I don't have an update on the historical signage for the Riverwalk restroom. Tamara's supposed to get with me on that. And the Marine Street Boardwalk project, it's been completed. It's all been redone, and they've stained it, and it looks good downtown.
Okay, I did, Miss Courtney did a phone call about the this restaining, and I went over and took a look at it, and it could use some work. I mean, the inmates, they dripped paint or stain everywhere, and the wire has been, I don't know if they spray painted it or what, but the wire has stain all over it, and some of the little sections are stained, and maybe twice. They got a couple of coats, and the rest of it's not stained, but they got stain all over the composite. And I'm thinking that if it could be pressure washed, maybe that they can get the stain off the composite, and maybe do some restaining on it. I'm just wondering if we should just go ahead and hire a professional, have JD come back and fix it. I don't know, I hate to wait a month and have some, if we can do something to get the wires just covered in stain. If we get someone to come out and take care of it before it gets on there and we just can't get it off. I think we need to rethink about having the inmates. If we have the funds to do the work professionally, the inmates are good for picking up litter and running a zero turn, that type of thing, but when it gets down to doing craftsman type work and professional work, they're just, their hearts aren't in it, which I can understand that. So, does anyone, I guess y'all didn't get any phone calls on it?
Nobody calls.
Okay. Nobody
I was
called?
out of town, so yeah, you got a phone call also.
Did you? hear anything?
No, I haven't. William, I had stopped down there the morning that started the painting, and just was there when he started. I left. I didn't. That stain is pretty thin, and if you don't have some drop cloths down there, you're gonna get it everywhere.
Did they have drop cloths?
They had one there, but they had inmates spread out. Like I say, inmates don't care.
Well,
They don't care.
and you can't blame them.
No, I'm like you. I think we're gonna do paint and let the contractor that does the work do the paint. No.
Do we want to what do you think about having Mr. JD go back out there and take a look and maybe?
I haven't looked at it, but I'm okay with it. I believe it, I think that we ought to probably have him come back and do it.
Okay, at least spray it and get the paint
Yeah.
off of it somehow. I think I can scrape it off the wire with my fingernail, so I think if he can pressure wash it.
tomorrow.
Uh-huh. Could you give him a call, have him take a look at it? Thank you. Do we need to vote on that possibly?
I don't think so. We had the money in the budget. It's still
Okay.
money left in there.
All right. Did you have anything else, Ms. Courtney? Okay. All right.
Other than I did one more thing. I left this on your tables, and it's talking about the Carrabelle Culture Crawl 2017. And they're asking for the city, the CRA, to fund $350 to hire musicians. It wasn't on the agenda, so we can put it on February's agenda, but if y'all take a look at it.
I did some follow-up on this. It says that it's in conjunction with the chamber, but the chamber director does not know anything about it. She said her board's not aware of it, and the board hasn't discussed it or voted on it. And then I talked to Miss Jeannie Newton, who's the new president of the Artists Association, and she was surprised to hear that her name appeared in the email, that she had heard mention of the Carrabelle Crawl, which is a cute idea, you know, the way it's described on the next page. But she didn't know there were plans for a band, and she didn't know, you know, that money was going to be requested with her name involved. So I would suggest that they need to, and I don't know who's going to be able to vote on this, because there's a lot of conflict of interest in there. If you look at that next, so I look towards Mr. Bowe.
The Art Association has been doing that time for
Okay. I think we need to give them, have her complete one of our applications, nonprofit event applications. And we need to go ahead and give the Riverfront Festival a notice, probably a written notice, that's why we put that together. The nonprofits are welcome to come and ask for funding for nonprofit events, but this isn't the tourist development, it's community redevelopment, and we have to show justification where our money goes. It's just, you just don't, you know, walk up and get money. All the other people that want funding, grant funding, have to do the application. So if you don't mind giving her that, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Y'all have any questions for Ms. Courtney? Mr. Hartman, do you have anything?
I do not, other than when the items come up, I one or two comments on it.
Is there any public comment? All right, we'll move on to new business. Item number 1, review bids and award contract for maintenance of CRA District and maintenance of irrigation system within the CRA District. Discussion and possible action. So we received one bid, I believe Ms. Courtney, I know she did. I know I got it in the email.
Have you seen one of these bids?
I got it.
So does anyone have anything to say?
I saw that.
Are we gonna vote on this today?
Well, I don't know.
We put this out to bid. How many, we put it in the local paper?
Put it in the local
We
paper.
got one bid.
Mhm.
So that's all we got.
Yeah, but we did ask for the bid to, now, always when we've gotten bids before, they usually come always with the license and insurance. And I have a copy. Well, this particular advertisement didn't say that. And, see, I have the one in the very beginning. I think I brought it with me. it's a handwritten bid, you know, we don't normally get bids like this. We normally get a bid on an invoice with letterhead from the business, the firm, and with a copy of the business license and a copy of the insurance and maintenance of traffic is what we asked for. And then at the last meeting, when this was voted on, didn't you make a motion to have it all in one bid, one price, $1, or? Yes, that
I
was
think I
about
did, to combine all the process.
So, I don't know what to say.
Didn't look complete.
Okay, this was in the paper, that's in. Now, the contract is a 6-month term.
I believe so. I put a copy of a blank contract with everybody's comments.
And,
The price, I don't have, I
Yes.
didn't print out a copy of it, but the price was pretty much consistent with the rates that they were charging before. That's what I thought.
The price was, for the maintenance was $39,520, and for the irrigation was $6,840.
Right, and for the term prior to that, the rates were similar.
I believe so. I don't have them in front of me, but it was.
now, this is in hours. This is bid in hours here. And do we want to take a bid in hours or not?
So it's not a fixed price, it's not, so.
If I was gonna,
Rusty?
if I was gonna hire my house cleaned, or I had a house, a vacation house, I would say, give me a price on what it's gonna cost to clean. And if it takes you a person longer to climb the stairs with the vacuum cleaner than the other person, I really, you know, I just wanna know, what are you gonna charge to clean it? What day are you gonna clean it of the week? And what is your price? It's hard to, you know, if you can, it's hard, by the hours, it's very difficult on a job like this.
Okay, I'm Tony Nolan. I submitted that handwritten bid at the last moment of the day. And without going into a whole lot of detail, your advertisement didn't ask for the things that you're describing. And I did sit at the last meeting. Unless I misunderstood, your current contract is based on hours. I think there was a lot of discussion that took place during that meeting about price per hour, or how much your current contractor was charging per hour, how many days a week or hours per week that he was actually involved in your maintenance of your CRA district, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually asked on several occasions for more of a detailed request bid, but that's not what I received.
A detailed request for bid, I mean, you want,
Normally-
like more detailed here?
Yeah, normally what I'm accustomed to in my career, in my time, when a bid's put out for requests for bids or requests for proposals, they're pretty detailed. That request that I see in the paper is pretty loose. it's pretty wide open.
I didn't
But-
write it.
It may not have been in the paper, but there was a long list of requirements for the submission of.
You mean performance requirements?
Yes.
Okay, I have those, and I attached them to my submit.
And the license.
I did not, and it did not state in there that the license was required upon bid being accepted. And it
does-
also did not state in there that the MOU training was required on acceptance of the bid. It is a requirement for the operation and for the maintenance, but not at the time of bid. As far as insurance, I have all of that, it's in line.
Are you talking about this did not say did not require, or did not say that you need a license and insurance and MOT certification? Are you saying that did not say it?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, well, I'm trying to understand because the.
Okay, I think your question was in the beginning, we're getting on a whole lot of subjects. But I think your question in the beginning was my price was based on hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
we talked about that.
And that's what I was just trying to explain.
Okay, thank you.
That is at the top of the list there.
Yeah. I have the list, and it didn't, what is, would you read that out loud?
Must be licensed, insured, and maintenance and traffic certified.
That's correct. It didn't say submit, that proof of information submitted on the day of the bid. It just said must have before duties are performed. I think your
I don't know that it.
I think your current contract is in effect until March, if that's what I understood at the last CRA meeting.
Right. Well, I would suggest that we postpone this decision
Okay.
until these things are submitted.
It's not a problem.
What if we re-advertise?
Yeah, I think we gotta be a little more specific than what we, so it don't confuse people like Mr. Miller here.
I know it,
Well, I'm really, and not trying to make an issue out of it, I'd like to be a fair competitor. But again, I asked for specifics and details, and I just went off of what I had. And as far as submitting the information on the insurance and the MOT training, that's not a problem. And I'll share with you right now, I currently don't have the MOT training that is current. Now, in my career with the state of Florida, I was much more certified than an MOT flagger. And I have done research on the MOT training since this was submitted. And it's not, I was given the information about intermediate training. It's not intermediate training. You've got to take the initial training before you can do the intermediate training. And my certifications where I went through flagger training and MOT training and escort flagger training years ago has been expired for 10 years. My defensive driving training has been expired for 10 years. I was an emergency vehicle operator for years. So I have been through those trainings, but the trainings have expired.
yes.
And matter of fact, they've changed the name of the training now, depending on whether you go to the state of Florida's MOT training or you go to a private MOT training session. And all of those, I couldn't give them to you by March the 1st because the next training available for an intermediate is March the 15th. I'll tell you that up front.
I don't think that's relevant.
And they don't.
Excuse me, you don't think it's irrelevant?
I don't think it's relevant if we don't have it.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
When the date of the next training is not, these are what we asked
Okay.
for.
Okay, so you're basically going to reject my bid.
I didn't say that, I said I didn't postpone the decision until we have.
Do they offer a basic
Fair enough.
training? Do they offer basic there?
I couldn't find one on the DOT website. I wasn't clear on the website. I was waiting on this meeting to make a phone call. I sensed a little bit of dissension. But I think not the intermediate, but the basic, I think can be done online, and then you have to actually perform your flagging duties in front of a certified instructor. And it doesn't have to be a state instructor, it can be a private instructor.
I was looking into.
So there's a video process on the basic. It's only 4 hours long.
There's a private company that teaches the basic in Tallahassee, and I gave that information to one of our streets and roads fellows, tried to get one of them MOT, just basically MOT certified. He has that information. I asked him to please get it to Courtney when he can. He's got it at home. He's at work today. I found the ad that was in the paper the last time, 2 or 3 years ago. It says the Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Association is advertising for bids for contract services of a licensed MOT certified and insured landscaping company to manage and caretake all public grounds and areas in the entire CRA district. Specifications of the services requested and the CRA map are available at City Hall. Bids must be turned into City Hall or before December 10th, 2014. And at 2 p.m. for further information, contact Courtney, has her information stuff. So the only thing really different, at that point we weren't, no one was taking care of it. The inmates were taking care of the irrigation system, and so we had to do something too. So that was added in during the Mr. Myrick's service taking care of the irrigation, so we didn't advertise for that. But I see the only thing different is that it's asking for the specification, asking for the license and the MOT and insured in there, in the ad that went in the paperwork in this. I mean, we could advertise and.
Actually, my current licenses are on file here at City Hall. And my insurance is just a matter of a phone call. It's already been taken care of. All I have to do is call and give a credit card number. So you could have a copy of that in a matter of 15 minutes with the technology we have today. The MOT training is a different subject by what the research that I found today to be current on. Now, as far as my history and my background, I could pull out a resume and show it to you. But it's 10 years old. I'm being honest with you right up front. But that's entirely up to you guys.
It seems to me, I don't know when I'm looking at Dan.
Yeah.
There's nothing comment. Without the MOT training, we could not award a contract to you today. I mean, you have to have that, the way I understand it. So it's,
Well, kind of the bigger picture is this, it is up to this board to, it was put out to bid, it was advertised, Mr. Miller responded as he did, and it's up to you all to determine whether it's compliant with the specifications that were provided, because a lot of times it'll be advertised and they say, hey, come by City Hall and pick up the specs for the bid, which Ms. Miller did. And then it's up to you all to make kind of that hard decision of, does it meet the specifications? And if it does not, then you can say, hey, if it does not and you want to rebid it, then you would reject all bids, which is only one in this case, and then put it back out there and advertise it differently, give different specifications based on what you've heard today. Or you can do exactly what you're sort of talking about, saying, hey, there's an issue here on a piece of the training or something else, and you would have Mr. Miller basically supplement or give you proof that it meets those requirements. And if that's your determination that those are requirements, and the specs do lead off with that as far as those.
I guess you're saying much better than what I was trying to say, is that it doesn't feel like your bid is compliant with the specs. And what I would suggest is that we would go out and re-advertise again.
And I guess I see some, Mrs. Myrick and some of the other folks here, is the city's got to be careful on this. The city just is trying to get a good you know, a contractor in place to perform these services. That's your role, the CRA is. In doing so, we don't want to open ourselves up to one of them, you know, being unfair to one of them, and then them having the lawyer concern, lawyers get involved in all this. So, you know, even though it could be harsh one way or the other, you do need to make a clear decision, provide clear direction to everybody so they know where they stand and what they need to do, basically. So if Mr. Milner needs to go out and get additional documentation to furnish to you, or he needs to understand that he's got to go through this whole thing again. That if it's going to be re-advertised, there's going to be a new deadline, we're going to accept new bids, but before we can do that, you would have to reject the current bid. And that's,
And there were some
Hard one.
questions about the specifications when you had questions about the
I did.
specifications.
I have lots of questions.
Then that would be the time to address that now.
No, I don't think, I appreciate what you just said, Madam Clerk, but I don't think we're at that point. The only comment that I'll share, I mean, as a citizen, not necessarily as a contractor, or a prospective contractor, the requirement on and it's called flagging now. It's not called maintenance of operation. It's called flagging now. It's been changed. And I go back to my career when I could share with you, I had those trainings over the years ago when I was a field supervisor just for my own employees, because we had emergency vehicles. Taking the responsibility in the event that any contractor that's working for the city of Carrabelle that's operating on the highway out there and there's an accident, if you've had that training or not, Mr. Attorney, and you take the responsibility when you get involved in flagging or managing traffic, you're out of your field and you put yourself under hard liability. That's actually going to where if something like that occurs and that contractor needs help with flagging or handling traffic, that's what a law officer is for. Am I correct?
yep.
So your training that you're requiring, to me, is a moot point. But if that's what you require, that's what you require. I mean, you know, it's a 4-hour training course for your basic. And that's not an issue. But I think it's unnecessary, whether it's for Mr. Meyer or for whether it's me or whomever. Because I think it's a training that for $105 and plus the time that you spend doing it, if I was a contractor, I'm not going to get involved in handling traffic. I'm going to call the local law enforcement officer. That's just my opinion. And that's one of the things and concerns that I have. But that's up to you guys on the bid. I felt like I followed it. Now, the handwritten bid, that's not what I'm accustomed to doing. I'm accustomed to putting that in on letterhead. It was at the last minute that I just actually threw that together and I brought it here before 2 o'clock. It was not professional. That's not the way I usually handle business, but I submitted it. I was the only one. Now, you folks want to reject it, that's entirely up to you. I understand that. I appreciate your consideration on what I submitted. And I felt like I followed what was requested. That's all I can say. Unless you have any other questions.
I do.
Okay.
On the actual specifications, the list here, is there a problem? I mean, I don't understand. Is it not
No.
detailed or?
No, there's not a problem there. It just doesn't tell you it has to accompany your bid.
But
It doesn't say you have to have that to accompany your bid. It just says you're required to do that as a contractor. If you award that contract to me before I ever set foot on the city's property to fulfill my duties as a contractor, those have to be met. That's the way I see that.
Otherwise, on the outline of things that are being requested, is
Yes,
that clear enough? Is that, I mean,
Some of it, in determining how many hours to perform each task, to me, is a little loose. But, I mean, you deal with it. And that was your first question that come up about my bid was hours.
Yes.
And you've got to, if I give you any project, and see if I can explain this, you basically got to determine what your rate is and what kind of time you're gonna put into performing those duties. And that's how you're gonna determine, or most of the time, what your bid's gonna be, and how much investment you're gonna have, what you're gonna have to supply, like the fertilizers and the chemicals, et cetera, and so forth and so on.
Gotta keep on your
Wear and
equipment.
tear on your equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Equipment was not an issue with me because I own all the equipment. But I still wear and tear on that equipment. So you basically, when basically a contractor's putting together a bid on their hourly rate, they're going to include the cost of their insurance, the cost of their training, the cost of their wear and tear on their equipment, the purchase of all these things that I'm talking about. And by doing that, so you're going to have an hour, there's going to be an hourly figure in there
that's-
somewhere.
And that's what I understand, and all of us understand that too. That's why it's so costly. A lot of people out on the regular folks don't understand it.
Because-
They're making so much money, but they're providing everything.
Basically, the way I see it as a contractor, Mr. Myers is very adapted. He's been doing it for quite a while. And I discussed this with Courtney. The way I see it, if I was awarded the contract, I put down there 16 hours a week on maintenance of the landscaped areas. That includes everything that you have on the list there. And the way I see it is some weeks I might put 4 days in there. But I bid 16 hours.
Or
There's some
sometimes-
weeks I may not take but 4 hours and run down there and go on Avenue B, et cetera, et cetera. But there's some weeks that I might put in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, I understand, or sometimes there may be loaded up on Marine Street with litter, and the next time not.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't know, how.
So, but you gotta have an average and a basis somewhere. But again, so that's the reason why I came with a loose figure. Because that's the way I perceive it. If I was awarded the bid, is I might spend the whole week down there. Then again, I might spend 4 hours down there. Whatever was needed to perform what was on that list.
I don't think the submission is adequate.
Okay. Fair enough. But it meets your requirements in the paper.
I would suggest that if that's the way that it's felt, then we need to resubmit, because we have only one bid, and we need to advertise, request for proposal, and get more detailed advertisement so that there's no question, and go for it again, and let's see what happens.
Madam, let me save you guys the effort. I withdraw my bid.
Mr. Miller, you don't have to do
I
that.
do. I withdraw my bid.
I don't think that's necessary.
I'll save you guys that effort.
No, I don't think that's necessary. You put, even though it might not be just the way it was intended, you went by what you thought we wanted.
But that's fair enough. I'll
Don't
withdraw my
punish
bid.
yourself because we have a misunderstanding here.
Yeah. I'm good with it. I just know that there's some distension, and I don't have a problem with it.
I know you don't, but
Yeah.
I know you went at this in good faith.
I move that we re-advertise and consider this next month or as soon as possible.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. May to re-advertise. You got a second?
I'll second it.
I second it.
Okay, second by Mr. Powers. I just want to do, any discussion?
I disagree with it. Y'all just go ahead and have your vote.
Okay, well,
Well,
I mean, we have a motion and a second, we have to vote on it.
Okay.
That's procedure. I just want to say that if the vote passes to re-advertise, that the advertisement needs to have specifications a little more, not a little more, but clear, and maybe we'll have Mr. Hartman help us write.
We definitely don't want to run into this problem again.
What I was thinking, Madam Mayor, is, and I was just whispering to Courtney, is pointing to Russell. For almost all of our engineering or Susan, but, you know, they always prepare our bid spec packages and that sort of thing that go along with
The contract.
Contracts. And they may have a template or just some easy assistance to make this clear so that anybody bidding on this, Mr. Millender, puts his hat in again here, he knows exactly what he needs to fill in and, you know, and yeah, so he can make it clear. So everything's apples and apples. So no, there is no confusion
And yeah, there's no confusion on the part of the board, you know, so that we know that we know what we're expecting in a bid package
But the
as well.
engineering folks do a good job of that.
And we're learning. This is only the second time we put this out for bid. You know, we've never had a contractor like this before maintain a part of, as long as I know of, or anything that I know of, maintaining part of the city like this. So, can you help us then?
Be glad to.
Okay, that would be a good thing. And have the
Right.
engineer. Do we need to amend our motion?
No,
Okay.
Did our newspaper ad be more specific as necessary? I was frankly surprised when this was the extent of the information came back with the bid. When it had been clear to me that the other part, licensed, insured, and all that paperwork was necessary at the time of the bids.
He didn't say that. I'll stay quiet.
That's all right. I mean, that was my understanding. Any other project that we would do with construction would require that information before we would.
But generally, the engineer handles those bids, you know, so they write the request for proposal. All right.
Just let me comment. Most bids that I've been accustomed to doing for 23 years, I received bids as a manager with the state of Florida. Most of the time, the bids did not require the insurance and the certifications accompanying the bid. Most of the time, they were required before the bid was actually, the duties were actually performed. That's all.
And then, Ms. Myrick?
Just to make comment, I've been in, well, both David and I have been in construction for many, many, many years. Both,
Take the microphone.
okay. Both roadway, I have 30 some odd years in roadway construction. David was our general contractor for us.
It's not turned on.
Okay, let's see.
Hard to hear you.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I was in road construction for many, many, many years, 30 or so, and David has been was a general contractor in Alabama before coming to Carrabelle. So we're very much, aware of bid processing and how it goes, and I've never been in a situation where when you bid a project that you don't have all of your documentation and all your I's dotted and T's crossed when you submit your bid. So I'm, a little confused at how Mr. Millender is seeing that. But I would, even though, because of David's illness, we were not able to bid this, the specifications seem very clear that in order to, to bid the project, we would have to have all of that information. And if you look back in the files when we first bid the project, you had all of our information attached to the bid documents.
I would say that we should just, since we've asked the engineer to help us with the advertisement, drafting the advertisement, to let the engineer, and he's licensed to operate in Florida, not, however it's done in another state. Let the engineer guide us into what kind of information needs to be submitted with the bid. Say as if how, the way your contractors do. Because sometimes we'll have to, have the contractor will do other additional things like plant major trees. We need a big palm tree replaced right now, so we might have to ask the contractor to, go and pick up a palm tree, deliver it down here, and so there will be other things ongoing, special projects, not just the regular list that's here. And, we want to make sure we're bidding apples to apples, I guess, and just try to do it best we can. So, is there any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion to re-advertise in a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and so everyone's in favor, and Commissioner Walden is opposed, and then that motion carries. When do you think we would, I know we need to move on to business, but just since both people are here, both parties, when do you think that this bid would go back into the newspaper? In a couple of weeks, take a couple of weeks to put it together? Okay. We want them to be alerted.
Right.
Go in the paper.
I think the legal ads are required to be submitted in the Apalachicola Times on Wednesdays, if I'm not mistaken.
Friday before noon,
Thank you.
for the following week,
For the following Wednesday.
for the following Thursday.
Thursday, okay, thank you. So there's a week, almost a week lag time there already. But I mean, I think I could work with Courtney and Dan to formulate an ad and scope of work and those items. A couple weeks.
Okay, so,
I think Friday the 27th, you could have it by then, that's a week from this Friday.
So it would have to go to the paper on.
No, if we send it to the paper on the 27th.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
Then it would run on.
then it would run on the 2nd,
I think that's reasonable.
February 2nd.
I think that's reasonable.
that gives you two weeks to get it assembled.
Then it runs
And then it
2 weeks.
would run on February the 2nd. And do you want to run it for 2 weeks? Or 1 week is sufficient?
I think we should run it.
Shall we have those bids sealed? Is that possible?
Absolutely, and that would be,
Yeah.
and that would be indicated with bidder instructions.
Because this guy's already got one floating around here, it's not fair to him.
Well, it came in sealed.
Did it?
It
Okay.
came sealed, we opened it and sent it out in the
Okay.
packet.
Just won't be fair.
Is there
And
any
just
other?
note that it needs to be one number too. They did vote on that in October meeting, that it should be one overall price for the landscape and irrigation, be all one.
Lump sum,
Yes,
not a unit price contract, is that correct?
yes.
Lump sum.
Because I don't think it was real clear on that either.
Is there any other publication the board may want to advertise in?
I prefer to keep the money at home. That's what, part of the redevelopment is to keep money at home if we can.
Just say additional points.
I don't know, I went through my stack of papers and found that first, and that did just run 1 week?
It did.
That's
Okay.
what, I looked several weeks and it wasn't in there, and it was confusing.
Okay, and then Mr. Melander would like to speak again.
Yes, ma'am. I think fair to your contractors, whoever they may be, and maybe it is clear to them and not to me.
your MOT training, specify that that has to be completed, valid, and attached to your bid. Of course, that's gonna limit you to one bid, but specify that. As far as the insurance, that's not a biggie, that's a matter of just a few minutes.
Suspicious item has been detected.
I need to come find that class up in.
Well, and the reason why I say it's gonna limit you to one bid is because from all the research excuse me, I hope I'm not out of line.
No.
All the research I did on the training, the nearest one I could find, nearest meaning the earliest I could find, is March the 15th. And then they list them right on through to December.
Now, Mr. Hartman, we closed we have not moved on to old business yet. Can we ask for another, can I ask for another, can we have more discussion?
Yeah, you can certainly discuss.
Well, do we want to, we didn't set a deadline for those bids.
Out in the advertisement, that Russell's going to work with staff, put together an advertisement that's going to say,
30 days or?
30 days is more than reasonable. So if it's placed in February 2nd and runs for 2 weeks,
Run on the 9th. And they'll be due back March. I know, then the 9th, they want to run it twice.
but if they want to consider it the February CRA.
So it wouldn't be,
Not gonna make it.
It'll be
It'll be
the
the
March CRA.
That's in Fort Myers too, by the way. The next closest one is in April in Panama City, and the next one's in June in Tallahassee.
We may be pushed past the expiration date on the current contract.
If you want to look at that.
I will vouch that Mr. Bellinger's been trying to get this license for some time.
The March CRA meeting is on the 21st.
okay, so that Friday prior,
So they'll be due back
March 18th.
That's a Saturday.
I think it's 27th or something.
March the 9th would be 30 days.
Okay. And that day falls on,
Thursday. I mean, I don't know if it's exactly 30 days because February only has 28 days, so. Yes, sir.
Okay, just a suggestion, I think you'd get more competitive bids if on your training or your insurance, I can see that's a pretty easy thing. But your training seems to be difficult. And it's going to really limit your contractor base to give you bids. For example, at March 15th in Fort Myers, no, I'm sorry, Fort Lauderdale. There are not too many contractors going to go down there and spend a couple of days in the motels and food and then not get awarded the bid.
I understand that.
And then you've got, because you have training classes coming up in Panama City, which is reasonable, and some in Tallahassee, which is reasonable, but they're in April and June. So, and what you've got, your training opportunities that I have found are scheduled and you have to attend those. So, now, there are opportunities, because you had mentioned some of your current city staff needing some of that training. I did find on the internet there's opportunities where cities, municipalities, state agencies, private contractors can request a proctor to come to your location and give the training, but somebody's going to have to pay for it.
The FDOT.
It was pretty expensive.
I called the FDOT traffic safety specialist for District 3, and he gave me the name of a they don't do that anymore.
I found it on the internet.
Oh, okay, that's
Yes,
probably a
ma'am.
private company. The FDOT
Yes.
used to do it for free.
Yes, but.
And they would train a whole group of folks.
Correct, and the one I found was private, because I tried to search private and state training classes. Spend some time trying to locate those. But anyway, just food for thought.
All right.
It's a
Thank you.
six-month contract, will come up.
Well, now say that out loud so we can hear it.
Is that correct?
It is a 6-month contract. All right, so we're going to move on to old business, which there is none. Okay? Mr. Large, INOVIA Consulting Group Projects, item 1, progress of the crosswalk at Highway 98, discussion and possible action, if any changes.
Okay, I'm sure you've noticed Dixie Paving hard at work. They are installing a signing today. DOT has come back and required that the thermoplastic crosswalk be installed at nighttime only, so that will be done tonight. There is a driveway modification and an added concrete area to replace a landscape area. That'll be, those will be the only 2 modifications related to this project. And the driveway modification is at the Witherspoon house. And the owner there has requested that it be applied.
And that'd be a change of work order change.
Yes, and we expect to have that tomorrow. Probably not tomorrow.
Will we need a motion for that change of work order, Mr. Hartman?
No, Cordy, you think you can? Yeah, Cordy, Cordy can make that.
Okay. All right. But that needs to be done, so. They're doing a good job. The concrete work is very nice, and they're putting signage out there today now. And DOT required them to do the thermoplastic crosswalk painting at night, so that there was no traffic. So. I will say, through my connections at the DOT, they are going to do gore lines. Did I tell you that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
On the south side of the street.
Yes.
Near the ramp driveway, yes.
Just like gore lines, the strike lines on the other side, they're gonna do a task order after this is complete. They have done a task order already. They're waiting for this project to complete, and then put gore lines so vehicles can't park on the crosswalk, and then the gore lines go a little bit to the east towards the condominiums where you are. And at the same time, there where the express lane is, they're going to, where those traffic delineators stick up on the side of the express lane right there at First Street, and people are always running over them. Try to keep those traffic delineators are there to keep people off the vehicles off the sidewalk. They're going to put more lines there as well as a test to see if that will stop traffic from running over those delineators. You'll see that happen. All right. So can we look forward? Okay.
Yes.
Item 2, progress of Northwest Avenue B project. That's the CDBG project.
Right, and we're hearing that we should expect DEO to contact the city in the spring to begin the process for that project.
Okay. Just from recent experience here with the crosswalk, and I've talked with Courtney and Keisha about it, I believe that we're going to need to have an advertised workshop, I don't know when, to the property owners, to notify the property owners and for their input, and say whether they want their driveway aprons or, so that they understand what's going on. But that probably won't happen until this fall, maybe.
I think that sounds reasonable, maybe summer.
Okay, so somewhere. right in the middle of our budget hearings. Right, okay.
When is your budget hearing?
That's in August, right, Courtney?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or August, late August or
September is our budget hearing.
The workshops in August and hearings in September.
Okay.
Okay, item 3, your progress of Southeast Avenue C project, resurfacing Avenue C and building asphalt on Southeast First Street and our
Right.
parking lot.
Okay, so the survey is complete, we have received that, and we've begun the development of the plans. Probably at about 30% completion at this point. And I'll be happy to send this to Courtney, just for a preliminary review and make sure that it's fitting with what you had in mind there. We also did some preliminary layout for parking on the triangle piece there. It's an awkward piece of property, awkward shape. There may be some earthwork involvement there, but we would want to limit that because that is expensive. But I will review that also with Courtney. But that project is underway.
And I noticed, I can understand it to be tricky because there's a utility pole with a wire behind it.
Yes.
Do you think that that parking lot will require handicap space?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Large?
How many spaces?
4, present.
I think it could have been,
But that will allow them kind of a prepared bed if they want to use it for festivals or something.
no, I hadn't heard the number.
4 more than there was before.
But now would that be able to have a trailer? Or,
Yes, I mean, sure.
okay. All right, all right.
Do you mean a boat trailer?
Yes, sir.
No.
Oh, okay.
But something related to the festival that they need to have a trailer.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. All right, then. Okay, that's all. Any more questions? All right, thank you, sir. Okay, and environmental consulting technology, Ms. Susan. And item 1, progress of land and water conservation grant approval.
And I brought Steve Danson, he's also another engineer that's helping out on the bridge at Triangle. For the land and water conservation grant, I just saw we had an email from Tamika Bass. They are still working on their grant agreements with their legal department. So as soon as they get those approved, then they will be sending out the email. So that'll be sent to Courtney. So it's still in the works. She's hoping it'll be soon, like she said there before Thanksgiving, but hopefully we'll see that soon.
Next month will be a year that we approved you to apply for it.
Mhm.
But now there's only 2 people that work in that department.
Well, and it also had to go to the National Park Service. So the DEP approved it. That was back in July when DEP approved it, and then it got into National Park Service. So now it's back at DEP. DEP is drafting the grant agreements. So I think there was 10, I think, that were selected for the state of Georgia and all for all the state of Florida. So they're probably working on.
But they won't reveal who's been awarded the grant.
She hasn't said anything, she hasn't not said, but I know that from the budget they had, there was only, I believe, 10 that they approved. So I'm thinking that it looks like everybody has gotten approved, but until we get that official, because what she said, she sent back in an email, she sent the agreement that you all submit, she sent the approval letter and then the form you guys had to send back. So it's looking like, yes, you are definitely approved, but until you actually get the official grant agreement in place.
Okay, we can't make any plans.
Right.
All right.
Because just in case they might have changed something, the National Park Service could have put certain things in there that we don't know of what they've approved.
Okay. All right. Y'all have any questions on that? Okay. to review the Marine Street Triangle parking lot design layout options, including stormwater management options and pervious and non-pervious materials.
And I brought some visual maps.
Okay,
You guys-
thank you.
That may be easier to see instead of that 8.5 by 11.
Thank you. Actually,
Okay. And as we talked about.
Is there one that, Mr. Miller, would you like to take a look at? You might like. Thank you.
And then as we talked in the last meeting, we talked about taking out those parallel parking spaces along Avenue F and increasing the drive lanes in the parking. And what we were having some problems with is those power poles that are in there. I don't know if you had a chance to talk with Duke Energy about possibly moving the poles, if they said anything.
No, they haven't said anything.
Okay.
I called him before Christmas, but he was out of the office.
Right. And then, so we have a couple layouts, one that the poles would not have to be moved, and the second one, which is on the second page, the poles would have to be moved. We still have, what did we say,
20-foot drive aisles.
Right.
In the plan where we would need to relocate the power poles, we're able to get 55-foot long parking spaces. But if it becomes untenable to relocate the poles, we could drop back to 50-foot parking spaces and put the poles within a median.
Except for that northernmost one. The northernmost one, we could still keep a couple that were more than 50 foot long. But then those, we'd also be converting 2 of those for handicap spaces. And they would have to go on your northern end because of your access to the boat ramp. The sidewalk is on the,
Oh, okay.
to get across.
So this would have to be basically
We have to make 2 of those spaces.
two
Correct.
handicap.
Correct.
And can you go into some of this sodded area to do that?
That's what we were looking at, possibly taking one of the furthest one to the east possibly, although that technically is not the closest space to where the handicap access is. But we would have that longer, that 71-foot long space, that would be, for truck and trailer, where the other one could be a car or a van.
Van.
The only other issue we'll have with those is you have to have a handicap sign on a post, so those would not be able to be drive-throughs. Because for ADA requirements, you have a sign that's got to be posted in front as well.
But we have to have a handicap lot, so, because there's a certain number here.
Well, we've checked a couple of dozen different boat ramp parking areas around the state. Some of them have been constructed as recently as the last 2 years. And unless they have a restroom facility right there, or some other bait shop, or some other building, they don't typically have a trailer parking space that is designated handicap. The ADA also requires that the parking space be closest and safest. In this case, it seems to me anyway, that the closest and safest may be next to the fishing pier, where there are parking spaces already, and you can get nose-in vehicle spaces, but not pickup or truck and trailer.
And are you talking about where the pavilion is? Is that what he's talking about when he says?
Because if you're considering this all part of the Riverwalk Park,
Yes.
if we can count that as one, because you also do have one handicap space right there by where that little sidewalk comes in. It's not painted. The sign is there, now granted it's in the grass, but it's not.
I don't know where you're, what?
It is, it's right, little HC is up on the corner.
Oh,
That is
right
like-
there?
It's not in blue, but there is a sign, you do have a handicap sign right there.
Uh-huh.
Because of that sidewalk does come out.
Oh, and there,
Right there.
okay.
Right, although there's a little area.
And,
dug up.
and then, now, at the marine, at the pavilion there, the fishing pier, we've been required, because of some grant requirements, to put a handicap parking place there.
Okay.
Are you aware of that?
Well, I saw the email that you had sent, because there wasn't one there before, so I guess we put back what was there before.
Oh.
But that could be kind of done in conjunction.
Just wanted to make sure Courtney was hearing that.
Yeah.
So could that, and we're gonna have to have that done.
Did I-
It's not on the
Did I-
list for this year, is it? But it will have to be done, it's supposed to be done sometime within the next year or so.
He gave us, I think it was a 3 year.
Yeah, 3 years to get done, and that's an electric door.
I only brought a couple of those, but that would be in front of the pavilion. Yeah, so that would be, but then actually what I was looking at, since we would take up 3 spaces, maybe we'd take up those 3 spaces, and then that would still leave all that open. And we'd have one area designated as the handicap space, because that would be taking up just those 3 spaces.
And then there's that other space that has a handicap
Right.
sign that's
Maybe
parallel.
to here, since those are 3 spaces. That, the only one that's with up by the closer to the bathrooms where that HC is on the drawing. I'm not really sure how a handicapped person gets out of their vehicle at that spot, because there's no sidewalk or anything, but maybe a sidewalk could be put in for them to get to it.
Here now?
Right.
And even at that,
Right.
somebody, a handicapped driver is getting out, taking their wheelchair out of the passenger seat or behind them and setting it into the roadway. They're now exiting out into a traffic lane. So that space,
That's not a good space.
that's not a good space. Certainly, it may be closest, but it certainly doesn't fall under safest. Now, that sign looks like it's been there forever. So,
Well, we know that's gonna have to be done. And may as well do it when they're out here painting. What do you think about that, Courtney? So if that is done, then does that alleviate the need for having a handicap space here?
my understanding of the ADA requirements, yes, we can consider the whole marina area, boat ramp area, as one facility. Fewer than 50 parking spaces, but more than 25, so it would require 2 handicap parking spaces.
There's no spaces along on this side. I can't remember.
No, that's in front of the Wicked Willie that's hatched
Okay.
off.
Okay, that's right, that's a driveway,
Mhm.
basically. So what do you all think about these plans here? Is it costly to move utility poles?
Typically, no. In my experience, the power companies are generally a franchise utility in most municipalities. And so if their pole is in the right of way and the city deems that those poles need to be relocated, then the energy company or power company is required to move those poles without charge. I'm not familiar with your franchise agreements with two utilities. Somebody can check in.
Do we get any more parking spaces with either one of these, or is just some of the spaces?
Just your
along-
length.
Just the
length. So one of them offers a 50-foot length versus 55
Mhm.
feet, and then the next row up is, again, 55 versus 50,
Right.
and then on the top, 71 and 37. Now, did I read that this would allow, this would be pervious grass, these striped areas?
I've spoken with DEP and Water Management District as well, and they are amenable to, or agreeable to pervious concrete. As a matter of fact, they said that they had reviewed some recent installations and that have been tested numerous times, and as far as they're concerned, we can count pervious concrete as impervious space. So the 0.2 acres of new impervious area that we're incorporating here, we can achieve all of the stormwater storage that we need underneath the pervious concrete. I think that, did that come out the way I think it did?
So, yeah, but at this area, you've developed enough area here that whether it's gravel or concrete or sod.
Those are just stripes on the pervious concrete.
So everything is pretty much, the entire area would be impervious concrete.
Oh, the entire area, the parking.
And the drive aisles and those striped areas.
That would alleviate cutting the asphalt,
Correct.
going under the asphalt in the street.
Tying into the.
But how much does that cost?
Let's see, I've run it both ways with having asphalt drive aisles and pervious concrete pavement for the parking spaces, and I've also run it with pervious concrete over the whole thing. There isn't much of a difference. Our range is about $165,000 for paving the whole thing in pervious concrete, and $180,000 for the mixture of the two. So we've got to add in concrete curbs and transitions between the concrete and the asphalt. So it's less expensive to go with the entire surface.
Is there any maintenance concerns?
Very little maintenance. They were saying that some of the sites that they looked at were brushed off every year to 3 years, and they were still performing adequately.
What does that mean, brushed off?
Just a street sweeper. They can also run over with a vacuum truck, a street sweeper with a vacuum tank on it as well.
What about blowing it? You know, like you blow a sidewalk, blow the leaves and debris, sand off of it.
I'll have to check into that. I know that they did the mechanical sweeping, but I haven't checked into.
How do you clean it? How do you keep it clean?
It's
You know, of debris.
Of leaves and everything
Yeah.
like that? Oh, those just regular, the rain will run most of it off.
Or blower, I mean, can it be blown?
Oh, certainly,
Okay.
certainly. All the pervious concrete is concrete with little to no sand in it. And so there are void spaces between aggregate and concrete, and so it works its way down through and into a rock layer underneath. And that's where we get our storage is the rocks underneath. So, and they,
How thick does it, I mean, how is it gonna be strong enough to? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
You have to put 6 inches,
6
8
inches, right. Just like we would for, even if it wasn't pervious concrete, we would still specify 6 inches.
In the Northwest District, seems to be seeing more of it or liking it more than they used to. They had a couple of, a new project just recently in Pensacola that they had just gone to look at. And so they were happy with the results. So they were pretty agreeable to looking at this to submit plans for doing of the impervious concrete.
We just don't want it to crack up, you know.
Right.
That would be awful.
I'm just finishing a project up in Jacksonville for Navy Federal Credit Union, and their whole parking lot is pervious concrete. it was an addition to an existing facility that's been there for about 5 years, and it's held up well,
So any concrete plant can make it, it's just a formula?
pretty much.
Okay.
The placing of it is different. It's a much drier mix, so they don't have nearly as much time to work with it. So that there's a little more care that needs to go into laying it.
All right, folks, what do you think here about these different layouts here and light pole placement, handicap placement? Pervious.
I think what I heard you say about the handicap space up here is most likely won't be needed. I was just looking at them and thinking if there's a sign in front of them anyway. I mean, you have a 71 or 65 foot trailer and car in there, you'd have to back that up.
Back it up, right?
Yeah, so I don't think you want those to be handicapped.
That'd be difficult.
And it sounds like you have a solution for that, to have those. And then the other unknown is whether or not we can move the power poles. And I think if you can move the power poles, that plan is better.
You do get longer spaces.
You get longer spaces. You don't get any more spaces, but you get longer spaces. And longer is good.
If you had two cars could park in one space.
I think longer is good, right? I mean, you're gonna be able to get a 50-foot truck and trailer out. I mean, you've done modeling, I guess, to show that it.
Right. These are pretty standard houses as far as drive aisle width and angles.
So either one, I guess depends on whether you use the power poles or not.
Our other thought was if you were gonna designate those as handicap spots on the northern end, you were gonna need a crosswalk also, going across Green Street, right there north of the stop bar also.
Which doesn't exactly line up with the sidewalk.
But if we're not going to have handicap, if you say this one will take, well, that's actually going to be two spaces.
Correct.
If you say that would alleviate or be sufficient for.
For the whole facility.
Then you wouldn't need that.
Uh-huh.
Right. And there is, you don't know of any examples of pervious concrete. Is Jacksonville the closest?
I know there are some in Tallahassee.
Is there?
I can check with the Florida Concrete Institute. They keep track of all that. They push that all over the state. So I can check with them and find out where some are in this area.
Oh, hello.
The entire Target parking lot in Tallahassee on Thomasville Road
The north one?
is pervious concrete.
And that one's really busy, so.
How long has that Target been there?
About a decade.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
Well, we need to make a decision here and move on. Do you want Courtney or someone to check into relocating the utility poles? I'm sure she just didn't do it because we didn't know what we were going to do here. This is the first we've seen this layout. Or do you like this design, or y'all confused whether we, so they're basically the same, except,
The poles.
yeah, and,
Move the poles is better.
okay.
I don't know what that entails.
And that would be up to Courtney or some of your staff to find out about moving these poles and when they can get it done? And you need a survey, or you've already got that? So you know where to tell them to relocate the poles, if they said they could do it in 2 weeks or something, which they probably won't do that. Well, do y'all want to direct Ms. Courtney to follow up with Duke Energy to see about looking at the two poles?
I think it's worthwhile. Courtney, you dealt with them. I mean, is that a difficult
I don't think we have a problem getting the poles moved, we just need to call them and tell them to come move them.
Okay,
Okay.
do that.
All right. Do we need a motion for that, Mr. Hartman?
No, I think Courtney, again, you're just gonna call Bobby Pickles and, or Dan Collins and see if they can move those poles, and they'll tell us. Because it's really
And I'll tell them the
functionally, I mean,
cost
they're
of
gonna
it,
tell us too.
find out where to move them.
Yeah, exactly, where to move is the other thing. We don't know any of that yet, so.
If we can give them coordinates and AutoCAD.
It'd probably be their engineer.
Yeah, we just plug them in with them and.
Now,
figure it out.
do we need to?
Because that may be, and again, I don't think we need a motion any which way, but it's also potentially a city function, because we're gonna move over onto, who knows where they're going, we don't know. Yeah,
Not too far.
not too
The
far.
stay in the
Yeah,
parking
looks like
lot.
we're still staying technically on city.
All right, do we need to motion on any of these plans, or?
I would pick a plan, I would say a motion on which of these plans you want to move forward with, that way they,
Tentative, well, if the poles can be moved, or,
they'll be back.
so we need a motion on one of these plans here, the plan that needs the poles moved. Do they have different numbers on them?
No.
No,
Oh,
but we can say that the
Just mark
55-foot
them.
spaces or the 50-foot spaces.
okay. So, the one with the 55-foot spaces needs the poles moved.
Correct.
So does someone want a motion on that layout for the 55-foot length spaces, pending the poles being?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. So that's Mr. Powers. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Bo May for a second.
How deep is the bed underneath the pervious concrete?
It depends on how much storage we need, but it looks like we're only gonna need to be about 6 inches deep.
And that's a rock.
Correct. Number 57 stone typically, so it's got big pieces of rock, no little pieces to fill in the hole.
This project is going to include the handicap space across the way at the pavilion as well.
Yes.
Want to add that? Okay.
Yeah, I assume that.
Okay, Keisha, did you hear that? It will include the handicap parking spots at the pavilion.
Do you have a preference for the location of those? Susan had mentioned possibly moving them over to the other 3 spots.
Well, and you think that's better because?
Only because it was 3 spaces together, you know, they'd have. that
Oh,
whole
move them over
area.
here.
Right, they'd have
Yeah.
that whole area.
I think Courtney and I even looked at that, and it would just take that up, and that'd be just their place, and put in handicap parking, and that would be good. So she'll move that over here. Okay. Is there any more discussion? I want
Brenda.
to say, okay.
I
Sorry.
have a question, Mr. Ben. Is the pervious material, which I'm not familiar with, I know what pervious means, but is it conducive to any plant life? Palm trees?
No.
Well, if let's see, water seeps through the concrete and into the rocks underneath, so it will water whatever's planted there. It won't be shy of water, that's for sure.
I was curious why, if striped areas could receive a few palm trees.
Well, we've been holding off on it because we just don't have the money and the water.
I understand, I mean, you know, it would just decorate the area a little bit and they're low
Yeah.
maintenance. So, and it would also kind of deter trailers dragging across your striped areas.
I know it. I thought about big boulders, live rock boulders.
Something decorated that,
Yeah,
just a thought.
and to keep worn vehicles, that there's an area coming on that, they don't need to. And when you said plant life, I wondered, would weeds grow in that, in that pervious, little.
Probably
So,
over time.
we'll think about the palm trees, we can talk about that, okay. All right.
Some of that was both.
Okay, before it comes to pass, maybe we should have a groundbreaking with a photo op. At one of our meetings, we'll go out after the meeting and have a groundbreaking. Keisha can stay on.
But an example of that concrete's over at the boat club, underneath the boat
Beg your
club.
pardon?
Is that pervious concrete's that over at the boat club?
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pervious over there.
All right, at the Carrabelle Boat Club?
Carrabelle Boat Club, parking
Okay.
lot there.
And that's been there a good long time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so, any more discussion?
I have one more point of clarification, I guess. I'm assuming that you would prefer to go with the lower cost 100% pervious concrete rather than the mix of asphalt and pervious concrete?
I personally.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. All pervious. Okay, so that's all pervious. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and then that motion carries. Thank you very much. Here's your plan. Thank you for your big plan.
Courtney, I'll send you a copy of that handicap. That way you've got it.
Okay, are there any other items that brought forward by the CRA board members? Or, no, we're missing one here. Excuse me, we need to move forward. CRA board projects, report from the CRA Director regarding preliminary verbal estimates for the Black Warehouse building on Marine Street.
All right, last month y'all asked me to get some quotes on the demolition for the Signage property. I got 2 quotes from 2 local contractors. One quote come in at $24,500, and the other quote, it came in at $50,000, but he had tipping fees added in there, and we called over at the landfill, and they're gonna waive the tipping fees, so it would really be $44,000. So that's about what you're looking at to demolition that building.
All right, thank you for calling, Courtney, and thank them for giving you that information. Is that formal, or is that these quotes, are these quotes preliminary?
They're formal quotes.
Okay. So now on that property, we've had the attorney research, and whatever we invest in it, we don't get super priority on being a lien holder. We have to get in line. And then Courtney has had a fellow that's interested. You want to tell about that?
We have a gentleman that's interested in the property. He called last week asking what the city's plans were, and I told him that the CRA was looking at demolition of the building, but he's interested in keeping the building there. And then we had some discussion on the FEMA, the 50% rule, where you can only put 50% into the building value over a 10-year period, and he wasn't real happy about that. But there are ways around that. He can get exempt, he can get on the historical register, or he can flood-proof the building, and I think they had also talked to Dan a little bit about some of these issues, but they're interested in the property.
Now, we're not bound by on any time limit on these quotes that we got. So we just asked for this for our information. So now you all have information. Do you want to, it would be my opinion to hold off and see if this fellow wants to do something with the property, what his ideas might be. Give it a little bit of time, 3-6 months or something. We know what we're up against, and we're going to have the accountant that's also going to be looking, he has talked with Keisha and Courtney on our CRA funds that are available, and, there was gonna be letting us know about that in a month or so, and we'll probably address that at a workshop in the end of March for budget reallocation. So we probably, would you advise Keisha to wait on
Yes.
anything? Okay. Anything major like this, we need to hold off on anyway. But we have the information now.
When we talk about that building, is that all the structure that's behind the brick building? It's all the fallen in stuff?
Ms. Court?
This was just the building, it's not the docks or anything, but it is the building. Anything that's land.
It's landward, so the fallen roof part, the back of, sort of the back of the building?
Yes.
Would be part of it.
But not the docks.
Do you expect future contact, or is there a way to jostle that along?
I don't know, just waiting to hear back from them.
All right, is there any more discussion on that item? Okay. Then Commissioner Walden, I noticed there were some more repairs that were done to the Veterans Park water fountain feature. Did you have anything to do with that?
I talked to William, Road and Street Department, Thursday, and all he liked on it was drying it out and painting the inside, and I went by there yesterday and it looked like it's been painted, so we just gotta turn the pump back on now. It's complete as far as I know.
Okay.
And it's running, it's running today.
It's running now, he's turned it back on now.
And it's painted the same color, well, they tried to match the
Yeah.
fountain and the brick.
So,
So it's rock and
as
roll.
far as I know, it's complete.
And it's even froze. Okay, review option regarding expansion of CRA District, item 3. Do we have any discussion on that today? You have none.
It seemed like the consensus previously was to not do that.
Well, that's what it seemed like.
It seemed like I don't know.
Well, you know, if you go back and listen to the videos, some folks did say they were against it,
Yes.
so.
Can we
It's
just-
a good reference.
Can we continue it again until?
If you want to put it on the agenda, and we can talk about it, and put it on the agenda and open it up for discussion again, like we have just now, if you want to, next month, or, do you have something you'd like to weigh in on, Mr. Hart?
On this subject, this one fires me up.
Yeah, please do.
Is just for everyone's consideration. We got two, to me, the way I remember it was we basically have two considerations. One is that we're at an all-time, soon-to-change low as far as appraised value of property. So your base year, for purposes of CRA stuff, is, we'll probably never see it again in our, when I say that, I won't even say any of that. See it after what we've been through the last 15 years. But we're at a real low point now as far as appraised value, which is what you want as base year. Any property that goes into an expanded CRA area, the city will lose a portion of the ad valorem taxes because the city's locked in there also at that base year as well as the county. But we will be capturing all of the increased tax revenue on that property that would be going to the county. So we're capturing all that, but we are losing the city portion. And that was kind of the pluses and minuses. We've seen over the last 3 or 4 years what the CRA can do when it has money, as far as infrastructure, stormwater, parking, all these different things. The idea is you can't spend, which we know, CRA money outside the CRA. So typically the consideration would be, is there areas of the city that are contiguous to the CRA area now, that we can make contiguous, that need, to me, infrastructure improvement, water, sewer, stormwater, parking, things like that, that, what we got to count on now is we're on that up cycle, is the waterfront property, everything that's in the CRA now is going to start generating revenue. We spent a lot of money on that area up to this point. It really has come around nicely. Is there other areas of the city that need that TLC? The commercial areas primarily.
I
But
think we had a workshop on this, and I think we discussed all that.
yeah, we discussed all that. And again, the conflicting consideration is anything we put in it, the city will lose some after, not, we'll lose some of that or in tax revenues, period.
Right.
But it's such a good tool for infrastructure purposes, as we've seen. So,
Well, I thought about it a little bit. I don't think, and we did vote, we had a motion and a vote, and voted yes to expand the time of the CRA program. But now we're still considering whether or not to expand the district. And I just don't think I would, personally, I don't think I would expand the time. I mean, say we expanded the time on the existing CRA district for 30 years. What are we going to do? What will we do that's a major project in 30 years? Of course, it's hard to look forward, but we won't be building any major overpasses or anything like that. The only thing I can see is more resurfacing. I don't know if we would be tearing down something, a whole block, and paving and putting for infrastructure for a hotel. It's hard to say what could happen in the future, but in 30 years, that CRA district could get small. I mean, you can only do so many projects. So, I just don't think I would expand the time without expanding the district. But then that puts me on the fence because I worry about taking money away from the general fund. Expanding the district, expanding the time, it's more work, staff, but we're managing so far. So, we, as far as expanding the time, the CRA doesn't sunset until 2022. So we have a little bit of leeway. We're not pressed to make that decision. But as Mr. Hartman says, if you want to expand the district, now is the best time to do it before the prices go up. So that's the discussion, that's the debate.
I think I was one of the ones in favor of expanding the district somewhat. And in terms of the funds for the city versus the thing, we have found ways with the CRA to put money, allocate somehow money back into city operations where we've taken.
Yes.
So some of that's a bit of a.
we just passed the
Offset.
contracts for services.
Right.
Yes, so
We
it
are
doesn't
offsetting
just
some of it.
take it away.
Not every
We
bit
do
of it.
gain the county money.
Yeah.
So
And again, I know so the county folks looking at this,
They
but
won't
that's the
watch it.
one that, when I go to visit with cities and things on CRAs, it's that they're not getting all the services they feel that they're funding through their tax revenue, of their residents, of their commercial property, or everything else that's going to the county. The county's then sending it back to us through the road department, and this and that. But again, I'm a transplant to Carrabelle, but what I hear all the time is they spend money in Appalachia. They do this, they do that, they spend it outside of Carrabelle, and our citizens are paying for it. And that's, the CRA is a way to keep it here for the benefit of the people paying their taxes.
I certainly
And that
agree with that.
is a big,
And I don't believe I will go to the time and expense, and you have to get it approved by the county commission to expand the district just a little bit, just the 2 or 3 blocks that we were considering at one point. I think I would, if we're going to expand it, well then,
Go east and north of ways, exactly what that is.
so we've had discussion on it. Do you have anything, any input on it?
I'm on the side.
Well, as am I. One thing about it, it can always be abolished. Is that correct, that you can?
you can't, we would financially have to unwind ourselves too. It's not, you just dissolved it in a way, you still have to
Yeah.
unwind financially.
What we need
figure that.
and we're working towards it, staff is helping, we're working towards having a zero balance at the end of the fiscal year. That's the guideline, the wanted to abolish it, it would be easier to abolish if they didn't have a, you know, if there wasn't a backlog of
Projects
and revenues.
and revenues.
Our recommendations would go to the city commission.
Yes, and then the city commission would
So,
have to.
so you would have a double, you have a double opportunity to consider
To
that.
say no.
Yes.
You could agree here and disagree there.
Yeah, but then the county commission has to weigh in.
Yeah. I think that's why I am in favor of pushing it upstairs.
But what do you want to push? But
Maybe we should workshop that again so we can talk about it some more and with some math and have some specific, try to come away with specific recommendations.
All right, well, we'll give that consideration, another workshop. I'll ask Courtney and Keisha what their schedule is.
If we can't do
We
it,
won't do it this month necessarily, but
And I was just telling Keisha, we already have a city hall relocation workshop for February.
yes, so it might be a couple of months.
that's fine. Probably need to do that and either decides, yes, we want to recommend it or not.
All right, so are we finished with this item? Is there any more discussion? We took no motion on it. Okay, then, any other items brought forward by the CRA board members?
That's it.
Okay.
Is there any way we could have a report or photographs or something from the former Morehouse so that we can see what has happened there? I know we
She's
can't.
gonna be having an open house.
Well, that would be good. I know we can't have an open house just for us and go, it would have to be public.
No, she came in and she got her business license and she's getting everything wrapped up and she said once she was ready, she was gonna have an open house and invite the public up and see it.
Okay.
Will we be, how can we all go, Dan? Would she have certain hours, like a reception?
We can do it two ways. One, we can announce it at a meeting and kind of as a meeting type thing. But if there's like an open house, and it would be no different than during the Holiday in the Harbor, if everybody ran into each other, we just don't.
Say if she had a 2 or 3 hour reception and we came and went.
Yeah, just come on,
And
just
at our
come and go.
leisure.
If you run into each other, talk about sports.
Could she bring pictures in and just show us where the money went
I can answer.
to a CRA board meeting? I mean, most of the other stuff, we've been able to see what happened, but this
I
is.
know it. We've been able
I'm
to
sure
have.
she'd invite you to come on up and see it.
Well, I did, I just wanted to bring it up here before I did that.
I was up there when they finished the facade grant and it looks really good.
But we haven't seen it, can't see it. I mean, I think Courtney said you could ride over to Dockside Marina and see it.
There's a good view from Dockside.
I actually post all the, and I had an email conversation yesterday evening from a gentleman who says that we're not advertising how the monies are being spent in the CRA district enough. But that probably is the only project that I haven't posted on Facebook because I couldn't get access to it. But we do, he wants to know, is there any other way we can get the word out for public relations? You know, but we have a CRA website, my Facebook page, I put every project on it. We could have a free CRA Facebook page, I don't know who would manage it, and then we have the city website.
Well, he probably wouldn't get on Facebook anyway, so.
Well, I mean, that is I had to come around and deal with it myself, and now I'm learning that that's the way of the future.
Yes.
And that's the only, it's free advertisement, for sure. So, and people do look at it, and then they share it, or they see it, and they speak it with their mouth. So, the word gets out. I put articles in the newspaper, like I did about our sidewalk project. I try to get the word out as best I can, any way that I can for free, without having to buy signs and put signs all over the CRA district, or I don't know how we would advertise it.
And we do have the signs for the facade grants, but a lot of times they're only up through that project and then come back down.
So, I mean, with the Oyster Radio, I don't know. But I just want to remind you to please let the Riverfront Festival folks know that they need to get an NPO status so they can submit a grant. And they need to do that for so they can submit for the grant at the TDC as well. And now's the time to let them know, because I know they'll be coming for money shortly. And they need their NPO status. I understand Kurt Blair says it's not that difficult to do online. And I just want to say we all need to probably be a little more careful in our projects. We had, some mistakes are being made, and with the inmates and parking spaces, even the military plaques were, had to be taken off. 2 of them have repositioned, and sidewalks are maybe not being ADA compliant, and so, we just want to try to, all of us, be a little more conscientious and try not to have to go back and make so many repairs, like repaint the boardwalk and clean it up in the first place. So, do y'all have anything else? Any public comment? Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Could I go back to that subject and ask a couple of questions to clarify for
And
myself
which subject is that now?
about your bid for the maintenance?
Okay, is that all right? Let me ask Mr. Hunt.
Maybe to check with Courtney, because we did, the thing is, I know there was someone that's interested, since we did already move on from that one, but Mr. Miller can certainly talk to Courtney and get any questions answered.
Sure.
You know the most.
Well, that's,
You can't
I
answer.
will, he kept
My
coming in
statement
asking
was that was part of the
questions, but there were
confusion.
questions that we didn't know the answers to, that the board needed to make.
Can he speak to you?
Go ahead. Yeah, no, I know probably least of all about this project.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
Well, one
We can-
thing, it's being videoed, if anyone wants
Yeah,
to
they can
look
watch
at the
it.
video,
Someone
they
can watch
can do
it.
that,
That's fine. Yep. Tony, come on, go ahead. Let's figure it out.
My one question was, when are you going to re-advertise?
The 2nd and the 9th, it will run in the paper.
Of February. Okay.
And it'll be due back March the 9th.
Okay. And at that time you receive the bids, that contractor's gonna have to provide proof of MOT training.
From what I understood.
That's,
That's what they.
if that's gonna still be a bid requirement, then usually you submit.
Sorry, if that is indeed to be a requirement, that is something that could be satisfied with a sub-consultant who has that certification. Just a suggestion.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand what you said.
Like a subcontractor that has that certification, you could use theirs if they're kind of an employee of yours at the time, basically.
A sub-consultant, or a subcontractor who has that certification, you could use their certification
Well, that still puts
to
a
meet
limit
that
to it.
requirement.
Puts a limit to it, so.
Was there a problem with having it so that you have to have proof of MOT training prior to job starting?
You can just spec that.
For me, yeah, because
No, I was just saying you don't have to have it when you submit the bid, but you have to have it before you start performing on the job.
that's what I said today.
I know that's what you said. I'm
It said
asking
must
the
have.
question, not of you. I'm asking the question, is that a problem? I mean, it seems to me if you hire somebody, they need to have the insurance and they need to have everything before they actually step on the job.
Exactly.
Is that a problem?
Sorry. I was talking to Courtney about it. Sorry, go ahead. The
Oh,
question.
the question is there a problem with wherever we would award this contract to, whomever we would award this contract, that they have, before they step on the job and start performing, they are required to have the insurance and the MOT.
Yeah, no, that was part of the confusion. Mr. Milner is interpreting it one way.
I
We
understand.
were kind of
I'm just asking a
So
question.
now we make it crystal clear. I mean, that clears it up for everybody. In the specs, that say, you know, you must, you know, that it can be contingent on or whatever, that they provide it at a later date, and that's all good. The only thing is, obviously, you don't want to, you could be left at the altar without
I understand that.
the other person showing up. But that's our risk. I mean, we want to spec it that way, we spec it that way. Roll.
When Mr. May asked the question, when this discussion was finishing up earlier, what was the term of the contract? He said 6 months, which was answered by Courtney, I believe.
Yep.
There was a purpose for that question, and there was a purpose for my questions and concerns when I came in. And I thought those were fair concerns because of, again, I'm just repeating myself. You know, I wouldn't be expected, or I wouldn't expect to start a project or a job or anything else without providing what was on that list.
I'm not arguing with you, I understand that, I'm just asking, is there some legal reason why at the time of the bid, and I don't believe there is, but is there, I don't know.
No, there's not a legal reason, meaning.
And the risk is that.
The risk is that
the
person we awarded to doesn't have it, therefore can't start,
Right.
and then work's not getting done.
Right.
For whatever period of time. And that's why people usually say, hey, get us proof of your insurance, your bonds, your this, your that, at the time they submit the bid.
Right.
So we know they got it.
And the problem we had when we originally went out for bid on this is I believe we only got one bid, and that was because there was only one contractor in the area that was MOT trained.
That's correct.
So as
I know his history very well.
it's been pointed out to us that we might be able to increase the competition, and I think this all started because we were hoping to get lower bids
Yeah.
than.
Well, and another thing, and I don't know the answer to this, I was just talking to Courtney about it, was my understanding previously was that to work on DOT rights of way or state rights of way, you need this training.
Correct.
But Courtney said, I'm not, saying that may not be the case. So that training, it may
And
not.
this is a requirement that this board.
Yeah, we may say, hey, that's not even a requirement. We can just drop that from the specs altogether, save everybody all this
Well,
discussion.
now, I know but I can, we can follow up on it. It's easy enough for any of us can call the DOT, the district. They're glad to help. But in past, at emergency management meetings, they talked about that it was a requirement. Some of their county folks have, that work on the roadways, on the state roadways have MOT certification. Ms. Pam was suggesting that our staff get MOT certified.
That's
this
what
was probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I did a little research on it, and that's what I understood. It's not a requirement. This board requested or required it. I mean, but it wasn't a lawful requirement. I'm not an attorney.
No, we can require whatever we want.
Exactly.
He's out there working on our behalf. If something goes haywire, they're going to sue him, they're going to sue us.
That was the reason why I made the statement earlier. My experience, I have some experience in the field that you're looking at, even though it's years old, it's 10, 12 years old. I have experience. But I wouldn't take the liability. I'd turn that over to the law enforcement. And that's what I was referring to with Mr. Hartman just earlier. So, but and I had this discussion with Courtney and the others. I mean, that's a board requirement. Even our local law enforcement are not MOT certified.
But they have to handle the traffic.
They do, but they're not MOT certified. No, ma'am.
Certainly some of our deputies must be.
According to the sheriff's office, they're not. FHP is, but local sheriff's office is not. Anyway, I'm not trying to
No, that's interesting.
stir a monkey, but I need to know as a as a prospective contractor, if you're going to require it the day of the bids are being submitted, or if there's some leeway to where if a person is awarded the bid, then they provide the insurance and the MOT training if you stick with your MOT training requirement, because it gives a little bit of flexibility to get bids. Because actually my bid today should have been legitimate the way I see it. I know you don't, but that's the way I see it. And like Mr. Hart.
I wouldn't call it legitimate, I call it inadequate.
Okay. I call it adequate. You know, according to Mr. Hartman, there's what it says. You could get attorneys and debate it, which I don't choose to do that. So,
You don't want attorneys involved.
no. But anyway, that was my question, so can I get an answer?
I don't know how, now, we're gonna have to have Mr. Hartman answer it. How can we answer it? Because we're not in the item, the agenda item.
And what's gonna happen, tell me, I mean, what I see in my head happening here, make it clear and fair to everyone, is Courtney's gonna work with Russell. They're gonna develop specs specifically for this. You'll be able, there's gonna be advertised, you'll be able to pick up those specs and write up a bid. And obviously there'll be some questions, but Courtney will answer them, but it's gonna be a lot more detail, more clear, not necessarily more detail. We have plenty of detail, but there'll be, whether or not it's MOT certifications required, any of that.
Okay, with those two questions that I have, Dan, I understand what you said. We've covered that already. My question is the contractor going to be required when they submit this bid on the next bid go around to show proof or verification of their training with MOT at the time of bid submission? Because if that's the case, they've got to get on the ball like tomorrow. And the next training class, I pointed out, is March the 15th in Fort Lauderdale. The next one would be in Panama City in April. The next one would be in Tallahassee in June.
And this is the thing, until those specs are, and I hear what you're saying, you're asking the board to say, hey, we're dropping the MOT certification requirement or not. But they're not, I mean,
No,
I think the specs will be developed. I'm curious, in talking to DOT, whether it's required or not. We don't know that, whether DOT does require it to work on their rights of way or not. What I'm hearing is probably is not. But then, is it something that the city, to protect ourselves, someone should have? And then what Russell mentioned is, even if someone wants to bid on this job that doesn't have the certification today, they could simply, and we say, yeah, we want to have proof of all this at the time of submission. We want proof of insurance that covers up to the limits that we specify, MOT certification, everything else, that if someone themselves doesn't have it, they can simply, what do you want to call it, affiliate, get somebody on their team that has it until they get it.
but most of your contractors, Dan, what you're saying, I understand, your contractors are not going to have that affiliate to go to. The only affiliate that I know of in this county you can go to is your current contractor. That's MOT certified.
Did you just say some of the county employees were MOT certified?
Not that I'm aware of.
And Keisha, you said that it's going to advertise on the 2nd and the 9th?
Yes.
And then we did say 30 days to submit, so it would be, it advertises on the 9th, so 30 days to submit from the 9th would be the 9th, or somewhere right around in there of March.
That is if
And
you,
then-
that is if your bid contractor is willing to go spend a couple of days in Fort Myers or Fort Lauderdale, I'm sorry, to attend the training.
I think we've already
Didn't you say you could do it online?
closed.
I don't know that. I never did verify that. And I'm sorry. Is that all? I hear Mr. May, I think he said that we hashed it out enough.
Well, I mean, I didn't hear a motion. I haven't heard a motion. I think people are
We,
just.
because I know we've been trying to send Dustin and it keeps getting canceled. They don't
Exactly.
have it up.
I mean, you know, over the last 4 or 5 months that I've been considering this, and other contractors, the prospective contractors I've talked to, we've looked at it, and they keep canceling, so.
And our next meeting, we wouldn't be able to consider it until March the 21st. Is when the CRA, the bids would be due somewhere around March the 1st or the 2nd, right? Or no, March the 9th or 10th or something like that. I can't calculate that for you, but then we wouldn't consider the bids until the 21st of March when our, that March.
Is it possible as a solution, you may not like this, but
Oh, yeah.
is it possible to extend the current contract for 6 months and while we hash this out?
If,
I mean, I'm asking the board.
Well, we would have to ask the attorney.
Yeah, the thing is, that's sort of the problem here with not having, we're having this discussion. Minor folks aren't here to say,
So maybe-
would they extend their contract on a month-to-month basis, 6 months basis to give us additional time to sort this out? Yeah, we don't know. And Courtney can certainly contact them and find out.
Why don't we test that water and put this on the agenda for next month?
We can do that if
We're already, the thing is, we're already moving ahead.
yeah, we've already made a motion.
Yeah, we've already
Yeah.
disposed of the issue, we're just doing informational stuff.
You do, I mean, you do, and I don't disrespect that, folks, so don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to make this hard. I just would like for it to be fair to me. I mean, I submitted a bid, no one else did, so. And, I'm not trying to make it difficult, I'm just trying to look at it realistically. So, and from a businessman standpoint, I submitted the bid.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you on that. I think we're all saying we made a mistake. There's no issue there. The other part of this is just when we ask for bids, I don't think we're under an obligation to award a contract. Is that correct, Mr. Harvey?
Yeah, no,
No?
So, I mean,
the thing is, the bottom line is,
solve the problem here.
we have a disagreement, it's pretty obvious, in interpretation of the specs that were provided, and this board has, well, sorry, Mr. Millender withdrew his bid. So you all didn't have to make a decision as to whether or not it was deficient or non-compliant, or whatever you want to call it, and reject all bids and re-advertise. So when Mr. Millender withdrew his bid, we have no bids, we gotta re-advertise. I mean, if we want someone to do the work, we gotta re-advertise. And what Mr. Millender's done well is tell us, hey, these are the things that are confusing. Russell's heard it, Courtney's heard it, I've heard it. We need to make sure it's tight this time. So we get it all straightened out, so he knows exactly what he's bidding on if he puts in a bid on the next round.
And my only two questions are, again, going back to, if you're gonna have to turn in your MOT certification at the time of bid, that contractor that does not have it as we currently stand here, had better get on the ball.
Yep, and
And the
that
thing
will
about
be
it,
in the
they
bid
can't
package.
meet that deadline. By March the 15th, they can't meet that deadline.
But Tony, I guess you're correct. I mean, from what you're saying, which again is stuff you've researched, so you're the only one who's done the research to say, hey, it's not even available till March. You're going to double check that. If for instance the bid specs come up and it says, yeah, you got to show proof of the certification, the insurance, everything, then you know that, and you know whether you'll dig even deeper, see if you can get it done online. If you need to find someone to assist you with that certification, you can work that out. Or, yeah, then it could put you out of the game entirely.
It could, because hypothetically, the March the 15th class, you read on there, if you don't register 6 months in advance, you're liable not to attend this class. It may be full, and that's what it states on. So,
Yeah.
anyway, thank you very much for your time. So,
Thank you.
yeah, and so I still don't know, as a contractor, which direction to go.
You will know because the specs will lay it out. They'll give everybody a clear.
Thank you.
All right then. Is there any more comment from the board members, staff, or public? All right then, one comment, okay.
Comes up for bid again in 6 months, it's a 6-month contract. You can rebid at that time if that's the way it turns out.
Okay. All right. Any more comments? May I have a motion to adjourn?
Call motion to adjourn.
Okay, and a second, please. All right, so a motion by Mr. Powers, second by Mr. May, and all, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.